Alright, in this video we're going to go from an assembly to a presentation file. We're going to pull the fasteners out of the reservoir cap, pull the reservoir cap away from the reservoir itself to create a exploded working drawing with a parts list and balloons. So to do this, make sure that your assembly is saved properly somewhere. Then we're going to go ahead to a file. We're going to create a new presentation file. So I'm going to grab the standard IPN presentation file and hit create. Once I open up the presentation file, it's going to be asking me to open up an assembly. So this is my assembly that I had just saved. I'm going to hit open, and I have no issues or unresolved links to solve. So I'm going to go ahead now and I can start looking to pull these fasteners out. Now, with a working drawing or an exploded view drawing here, all of your movements must occur on an X, Y, or Z axis with an isometric view. So we're not going to turn, we're not going to go to an angled view or a right view. We're going to keep this on that standard isometric corner view. And now we can go ahead and start what is called tweaking components. So the button that you're going to select up here is called the tweak component button. So we're going to find this on the ribbon bar. We're going to select the tweak component button. Then we're going to come down and we're going to select the components that we want to tweak. So the first components that we're going to tweak are going to be the number 10 screws, and to select more than one, hold down control, and then you can start moving around and selecting all four of those components. Once they're selected, I'm going to then highlight or hover over the arrow that I'm going to move along the axis with, because they need to come out of the holes in that direction. So once I sit over top of the arrow, I'm going to hold down my left mouse, and then I'm going to drag these fasteners out of the hole. Once I've done that, I'm now ready to start moving the remaining fasteners. So I'm going to hold down control again. While these are still highlighted, hold down control, and then I'm going to select the remaining 4 socket head cap screws. And then again, I'm going to grab the same arrow and drag the socket head caps out of the reservoir cap. And I'm moving them out far enough so that none of the particular fasteners or parts overlap. Again, I will hold down control, I will grab the cap itself, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the cap away from the reservoir so that it does not overlap. Once I complete this process and all of the components have been moved away from each other, I'm going to come and then select this green check, and what that does is it finishes the tweak component aspect here. By doing this, this is now ready to be set up and laid out onto a sheet. So we'll have to go up to the file, do save as, and then just make sure this is saved to a proper location. Say yes to all, go ahead and hit OK. So now that this is saved, I can go ahead and start looking to put this onto a sheet. So I'm going to go back to my layout sheet. I'm actually going to create a new sheet so I can show you how this will be done. This is a C-size sheet, I believe, so I'll check and right click, go down to edit sheet to make sure. Yep, that's a C-size sheet. Hit OK. Now I can go ahead and just grab the base view of that assembly. So this is that base view of the assembly, just like we would do with a part. This is the base view of that exploded assembly, and I'm going to go ahead and make this 1:1. Setting this up 1:1, I'll hit OK. And it should create the view here. So it's created the view along with its tweak lines. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this into the proper orientation on my sheet, somewhere approximately like this. Then what I can do is set up my parts list. Now it may be necessary as you lay out the rest of these parts to go ahead and move things around. You may even need to go back into the assembly and tweak back or push back in some of your fasteners if you need more space. But from this point, I can go ahead to my annotation tab, and I can now select my parts list. And the parts list that I want to make sure I select is the parts list of this assembly. So I pull down the file that I'm looking at, because I don't want just the reservoir. I want the actual assembly of that part. I can then come down, I want what is called a BOM, that's a Bill of Materials, Settings and Properties. It's structured, level 1, and then just hit OK. Once that is done, I can have a parts list, and I can link that down here to my title block, and now I have a parts list that I can work from. Then I can go ahead and I can grab this large balloon button where I want to go ahead and add balloon numbers to my parts. I'll go ahead and I'm going to select one of the fasteners, right click and hit continue, select the next fastener, right click and continue, select the cap, right click and continue, and then of course the reservoir, right click and continue. By doing that, I can now label the parts on my exploded view. You want to keep your balloons in a nice, neat, orderly fashion. You don't want balloons being pulled all over the place in different directions. The neater and cleaner your assembly is, or your exploded view is, the easier it will be for someone to read and actually glean information from that. So I hope this helps taking you through that process from exploded view all the way through layout.